And if you do that, the Rebbe says, there'll be mutual peace, which means both that boy, that child who passed away, will gain and will benefit and will have an elevation. And by you helping them in a concrete way, it will bring you peace as well. So we were discussing a yard site, right? Because we're talking about before, we did that, during, we did that, after, we spent a long time on that. And we're saying how, for a person who passes away, for the departed, for the soul, time continues, even though, of course, spiritual realities are beyond time. But time continues. There's, as we said, the concept of Shabbos and Yontif and Rosh Chodesh, because that's when the souls ascend from the lower Gan Eden to the higher Gan Eden. There's a special energy that a soul has, that the departed has on their birthday. And we said the red letter day, the most significant day for any soul, is the yahrzeit, because that is when they have their greatest jump. And we said we want to help empower that jump in many ways, one of which very significantly is giving people food that day, sharing food, making a gathering in honor of the yahrzeit, bringing food to shul in honor of the yahrzeit, and people making blessings and having in mind this should be an elevation for the soul. Of course, we also study Mishnayos on the day of a yahrzeit, the Mishnayos that spell out the name of the departed. Why do we focus on Mishnayos in terms of a person passing away and during the Shiva and during the year and by the yahrzeit? Because Mishnah is the same letters as the word Nishama, soul. If you re-scramble the letters of the word Mishnah, you have the word Nishama. And we are told that there's a very special deep connection between the study of Mishnah and the soul. And that is why, as I'm sure you've all seen, that when someone passes away, one of the first things they do is try to divide the studying of all of the tractates of Mishnah, depending on how many people you have involved and how assiduously they're going to work on it. Some people try to do this for the Shleishim. Some people do this for the year or for the 11 months. Some people, of course, that are, able to do this, they complete the whole Gemara over the year, divided it among people that are participating. But especially Mishnah, because Mishnah is the letters of Neshama, and every year on the yahrzeit, there is the studying of Mishnayos, that the first letter of the Mishnah, letter by letter, we're spelling out the name of the departed. Obviously, it's very special to give extra tzedakah on the day of a yahrzeit of someone you were close to help the ascension of their soul. It's very special to go to the kever, to go to the gravesite of someone you were close to, especially on the day of their yahrzeit. Some people are more, as I call it, goers to grave sites than others. Some people, it's more their nature. Some people don't relate to it. Some people do. If you are going to a gravesite, there is a list of Tehillim you are supposed to say by a gravesite. If anyone wants that list, ask me and I will send it to you. In terms of going to the gravesite, we do not go the first year. The only exception to that rule would be obviously the burial itself and the Hakamas Matseva, when they're putting up the tombstone. Otherwise, for a year, we do not go. We're told that disturbs the soul because the soul is right now in a process of ascension, like leaving this world. And a person going to their grave would pull them down. Different myths, some people have asked me, they say, oh, you're not allowed to go to a grave twice in the same day. That is not true. You can go back the same day to a grave after the first year. There's no restrictions after the first year. Some people think that you can't visit a grave if you're in the cemetery for another reason, maybe think it's disrespectful. I don't know. People have asked me these questions like, oh, I heard if you're going for a funeral, you can't, and you have someone buried in that gravesite, in that area, in that cemetery, you're not allowed to go to them because you went for for a funeral. Absolutely not true. If you're going for a funeral or any other reason you're going to a cemetery and you want to visit someone, you want to go to their gravesite, it is 100% allowed as long as it's past the first year. There's no restrictions on that. Pregnant women can go to a gravesite, but do not go to a burial. If it's very, very, very important to her, she can speak to a rabbi who would give her a heter, a leniency that she'd be allowed to go. So in general, pregnant women do not go to burials. I remember when my father passed away, I was pregnant and it felt sort of painful, but I stayed outside. I did not go in because I knew I was not supposed to. A woman who has her period does not go to a cemetery, which the most annoying thing for that is if you're in Israel and you want to visit all these holy grave sites and you have your period and you're like, oh my gosh, so stuck. What are you supposed to do? You came to Israel, you want to daven by all the holy places and you got your period. So we're told, okay, go, but stand far back. Like, don't get close. Don't get too close to the grave itself. Stand far back, and then you could go and pray there. I don't know if any people here, again, some people are so into going to grave sites and so feel the connection, and some people really don't. Now, there is a connection. It's not like in someone's head, because the grave site is, in a sense, like the base, the repository for that soul. The soul, in other words, the body is in the kever, is in the gravesite, and the soul still has a connection to the body. So therefore, as the soul has a connection to the gravesite. And that's why people go to a gravesite, to connect to the people that have departed. That's why people go and leave invitations by the grave sites of their parents or grandparents. What, you're going to a grave, a cemetery, and you're putting out a wedding invitation? Yes. I mean, you don't have to, but I totally understand the feeling, because it's like, I know this is where the body is, and I know the soul has a connection to the body. So this is my most direct way to access that soul. So I want them to know they're invited. This is where I'm going. We are told that 3 generations come to every, I'll call it, life cycle event. Definitely to the chuppah of a child, grandchild, or great-grandchild. So I guess they know they're invited, but if you want to make sure they really know they're invited, it's perfectly legitimate to go and leave something at the grave. It is not inappropriate. It's perfectly legitimate, and people do that. Of course, for a tzaddik, it's much, much stronger, because we're told that tzaddikim are never die. Tzaddikim af b'misasan kruyim chayim. Tzaddikim, even in their death, are called alive. Well, what defines life? There's no pulse, there's no heartbeat, what's determining, what's calling him alive? Well, life is that there's a soul in a body. And for a tzaddik, even after he passes away, the soul, a part of the soul, stays in his body. The nefesh, there's 5 parts of a soul, and the lowest part of the nefesh stays in the body of any tzaddik. And that's why the body of tzaddikim don't decay, because they always have life in it. They always have that nefesh in it. Now, of course, there are some tzaddikim even greater that have, as we'll call it, more life, more alive, more energized. Like it says, Moshe never died, Yaakov never died. Rabbi Yehuda HaNassi will come back every Friday night and make kiddush for his family. I mean, we know of some tzaddikim that far broke through those boundaries between life and death, and definitely stayed on the side of the living. Eliyahu Navi, who went up into Shemayim with his body, David HaMelech Chai B'Kayim. There are those, but I'm saying every regular tzaddik has his neshama, the nefesh is still in his body, and therefore lives on in the kever. And that's why people go and daven by the kever, by the gravesite of a tzaddik. There's such a strong connection. Besides everything we're saying that we do for the soul, like on the yahrzeit, there's the regular care packages, the regular gifts we can send someone who has passed away, and we don't have to wait for the yahrzeit, and we don't have to wait for the birthday, and it could be any moment we want to send a gift to someone who's passed away. If a parent has passed away, they get the gifts for free, meaning they get the gifts automatically. You don't have to be thinking about them at all. You could have had, unfortunately, a horrible relationship with your parent. You could be a Baal Tshuva, and your parent didn't want you to do anything for God. It doesn't make a difference. Your parent helped make you the person you are. So the fact that you are now a person serving God, that has something to do with your parent. Even if you don't think it has anything to do with your parent. But on some level, it has something to do with your parent. And therefore, when they pass away, even if they were opposed their entire life to your service of God, it still had something to do with making you the person you are who is currently serving God. And therefore, every commandment, every time you serve God for your entire life, always helps the souls of your parents. But besides for the parents, where it's automatic, for anyone, you can always do something to help anyone you cared about who passed away. It's really the biggest gift you can give them, because when someone passes away, they can no longer serve God. They can no longer give to God. They can no longer do a mitzvah. It says in Tehillim, "B'meisim chafshi." When someone dies, they're free. What are they free from? They're free from service to God, which means they can't do it anymore. So the simplest mitzvah, putting a coin in a charity box, this most mindless, easy, simple mitzvah, saying a blessing before you eat. I mean, simple things that we don't even think about. We wouldn't count them to our credit of serving God, so to speak. It's just automatic. Those are mitzvahs. Those are enormously powerful. And no soul that passed away can ever do them. So anytime we have someone in mind who passed away, as we're doing a mitzvah, and we want this to help them, this creates tremendous, tremendous, tremendous elevation at a point when they can't do anything for themselves, right? Like anytime you give someone a gift, it's nice. But when you give someone a gift and they're like helpless at that point, they can't do it for themselves. It's so, so needed and so, so appreciated. We call it chesed shel emes, the true kindness. That's the kindness you do with someone who passed away. Why is it called the true kindness? Because you're not getting anything back. In this world, if you do a favor for someone, even if officially they have no way of helping you, you never know, right? The wheel could always turn. I've seen with myself, I can remember someone, whatever, not they overthought the situation, but not someone I would have ever imagined could have ever done something significantly to help me. And at a certain point in a certain situation, that person unbelievably helped me so, so, so significantly. You never know. You never know who, what, when, where. But someone who passed away, passed away. So that's why we say it's chesed shel emes. We're not expecting anything back. We're freely giving to people we love. I have someone, a close friend of mine, passed away. And till this day, I say the Tehillim of her daughter because I feel like she can't, I mean, I'm sure she can do many things above as a soul, but as a soul in a body in this world, she can't give this to God and in this way help her daughter. And as I, hopefully every day, I probably miss a few, but hopefully every day as I say her Tehillim, I feel very often this connection to her, like, here, I'm doing something for you. I'm doing something you would want to do, but you can't do it anymore, but I could do it for you. And it's special to feel you still have this connection. There was once a young boy who was very disturbed that his good friend had passed away from an illness, and the child kept imagining that he had the same illness and that he was going to die like his friend died. And I was talking about those Rebbe videos where the child goes by the Rebbe and the parents explain the situation, and the Rebbe said he should take from his own money, I guess, what you have as a child, birthday money, Hanukkah money, take from your own money and give tzedakah, give charity to elevate the soul of your friend. And if you do that, the Rebbe says, there'll be mutual peace, which means both that boy, that child who passed away, will gain and will benefit and will have an elevation. And by you helping them in a concrete way, it will bring you peace as well. Another time, a man passed by the Rebbe. This was very powerful when I've seen this. And the man said, at the time when this was recorded, he said it's 45 years after the Holocaust. So it's probably like in 1990. It's 45 years after the Holocaust. His entire family perished in the Holocaust. He's the only survivor. He said, he's saying all this, it's very emotional. He said he had 5 brothers. All of them perished. And he said 4 of the 5 he thinks of, he dreams of occasionally. But one who very tragically passed away a week after the liberation. It's so horrible when you hear this. And I mean, there's many people that this happened to. They passed away on the day the concentration camp was free. They passed away the day after the concentration camp was free. They passed away the day before. It's like, oh my gosh, they went through all that suffering. And then, so his brother passed away a week after the liberation. And he said, for the past 45 years, I dream of that brother, that specific brother, 2 or 3 times a week. And he was very, very disturbed. These were not comforting dreams. These were very, very, very disturbing dreams. 2 or 3 times a week for 45 years. And he said to the Rebbe, what could he do about this? And why is this happening? And the Rebbe said, do you have a day that you say yahrzeit? Meaning that you call the yahrzeit and you say, I didn't say you say yahrzeit, I didn't say that correctly, that you say Kaddish for the departed, that you make this day the yahrzeit. And the Rebbe said, and the man responded, I do this for my whole family on Yom Kippur, which actually many people, choose Yom Kippur as a day if they're choosing a day and they don't know the date. So on Yom Kippur, I say Kaddish for all of my family who passed away in the Holocaust. That's their yahrzeit. I chose Yom Kippur. And the Rebbe said, for this brother, figure out the most accurate date to his passing, which you can figure it out because he passed away a week after the liberation. So, wherever area of Europe you were, whatever concentration camp you were in, you can look up that date of liberation and a week later he passed away. So you could pretty accurately figure out his yahrzeit and make that day, whatever day you select, which is very close as you can get it, as accurately as you can get it to the day you think he passed away, make that his yahrzeit and say Kaddish for him on that day. And if you do so, this will bring peace to the soul. And when the soul has peace, you will have peace. So in both of these, you see these were troubled souls. And because they're troubled souls, they're making trouble for the people connected to them. Why? Because these people can help them. If we're troubled after someone passes away, maybe the soul is troubled, and we can and therefore must help them. I actually remember reading, someone wrote this about himself. He was in Russia, so it's already communist Russia. And when the Holocaust came, he managed to escape, but his father was killed by the Germans. And his father was actually hung. His father was maybe like the rabbi of the town. So it wasn't just like everyone that was taken in, in Ukraine, they just had you dig a pit and then they shot you. But his father was actually hung, before then, and hung for hours till he passed away, and very, very horrific. And his father was a very holy Jew. And asking, the people of his town who told him the details, he knew the day his father passed away, and he would say Kaddish for his father. That was his father's yahrzeit. And his father came to him in a dream. And his father said to him, "You have the wrong day for my yahrzeit." I don't remember what it was. Let's say he thought it was the 4th of Shvat. And he said, "No, it's the 5th of Shvat." Whatever it was, the father literally came to him in a dream to tell him, "I need the right day of my yahrzeit. I need the right day for you to say Kaddish for me." Now, of course, most souls don't have that ability to be able to actually convey it to someone as clearly as obviously his father was a very, very holy Jew. But it's very significant. I mean, the fact that the father chose to come in a dream to the son to say this shows how incredibly significant it is, and how, yes, a soul can be troubled and can need something from us. And if we're feeling the distress, it could be that we're echoing the distress that the soul feels, that hopefully, possibly, we can rectify, like the Rebbe is saying in these 2 vignettes.